Have you ever noticed that certain people seem to draw others in like a magnet without even trying? You know the type? They walk into a room and somehow conversations naturally flow toward them. People want to share their deepest thoughts, their biggest fears, and their wildest dreams with them. But here's the thing. These magnetic individuals rarely understand why everyone's so attracted to them. They don't see themselves the way others see them. If this describes someone you know, or maybe even yourself, you might just be looking at an INFJ. So what makes INFJs so irresistibly interesting to the world around them? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, and trust me, the answers might surprise you. 1. The rare gift of genuine listening. Let's start with something that sounds simple, but actually isn't. Most people think they listen. They hear words, they nod, they wait for their turn to talk. But here's what's different about INFJs. They actually listen to understand, not to respond. This distinction matters more than you'd think. When an INFJ talks to you, they're not just catching keywords in your sentences. They're picking up on the tone of your voice, the expression on your face, the hesitation before you speak, and the things you leave unsaid. They're reading the entire story between the lines. This kind of deep listening is incredibly rare in our modern world, where most people are thinking about what they're going to say next or checking their phones while someone's talking. The thing is, most people are starving for this kind of attention. We live in a time when being heard feels like a luxury rather than a basic human need. When an INFJ gives you that kind of presence, that full, undivided attention, it feels refreshing. It feels special. It feels like someone actually cares enough to understand you, not just tolerate you. And that feeling, that's magnetic. That's the kind of thing that makes people want to be around INFJs more and more. They found someone who doesn't just hear their words, but understand their world. 2. The mysterious quality nobody can quite define. There's something about INFJs that people struggle to put their finger on. Ask someone why they're drawn to an INFJ, and they'll probably fumble for words. They're just different, they might say, or there's something about them I can't quite explain. This mystery is part of what makes them so intriguing. INFJs have this quiet confidence mixed with genuine humility that's hard to find in other people. They're not trying to be mysterious on purpose. They're just naturally reflective, thoughtful, and a bit reserved on the outside, while having incredibly rich inner worlds that most people don't get to see. This creates a kind of paradox. They're engaging and warm, yet there's always more to discover about them. They're like a book where you think you've reached the end, only to discover there are more chapters you hadn't noticed. People are drawn to this mystery because humans naturally want to solve puzzles. We're fascinated by things we can't immediately understand. INFJs have this quality that keeps people interested. There's always something new to learn about them, another layer to uncover. This doesn't make INFJs cryptic or secretive in a dishonest way. They're actually quite genuine. It's just that their inner landscape is so complex that they're constantly discovering new things about themselves too. This ongoing depth is genuinely attractive to people who appreciate substance over surface-level conversation. 3. The special talent for making people feel seen. One of the most powerful things an INFJ does is make people feel genuinely seen and understood, and not in a surface way. They see who you really are underneath all your layers, defenses, and the mask you wear for the world. This is incredibly rare and incredibly valuable to people. Think about it. Most interactions in life are fairly superficial. People comment on what you look like, what you do for a living, the weather, surface-level stuff. But an INFJ is different. They notice the real you. They pick up on your values, your passions, your struggles, your potential. They see the parts of yourself that you think are hidden, and instead of judging you for them, they often validate them. They might say something like, "I noticed you light up when you talk about that project. It seems like it really matters to you." Suddenly, someone has noticed not just what you're doing, but why it matters to you. This feeling of being seen, truly seen, is profound. It makes people feel less alone. It makes them feel like they matter. And that feeling of mattering is something people will chase again and again. So naturally, they want to be around the INFJ who made them feel this way. They want more of that experience. They want to feel seen again. This is why people often find themselves opening up to INFJs faster than they open up to others, and why they feel so drawn to them. INFJs have this gift of helping people feel significant, and that's something not everyone can give. 4. The authenticity that stands out in a fake world. We live in a world where people are constantly performing, curating their images, and presenting a version of themselves rather than showing who they really are. Social media has made this worse. Everyone's filtering their lives, editing their photos, and sharing only the highlights. But INFJs? They're mostly just being themselves, and that authenticity is striking. INFJs don't have time for pretense. They value truth too much. They'd rather have one genuine conversation with someone than 100 surface-level interactions filled with fake smiles and small talk. This honesty, this refusal to play games, is deeply attractive in a world that feels so false. People are drawn to it because authenticity is becoming rarer. It's becoming more valuable. When someone is just genuinely themselves without trying to impress anyone or win approval through performance, it gives other people permission to do the same. You know that feeling when you're around someone real, and suddenly you don't feel like you have to pretend anymore? That's what INFJs often create around them. They create safe spaces where authenticity is possible. And once people experience that, once they feel like they can be themselves around someone, they want to keep coming back. It's like finding an oasis in the desert. You don't leave just because you're thirsty. You want to stay and actually enjoy it. 5. The rare combination of empathy and strength. Here's something interesting about INFJs. They're deeply empathetic, but they're also incredibly strong. Most people think empathy makes you soft or weak. But with INFJs, that's not the case. They feel everything intensely. Other people's pain, joy, frustration, hope, but they don't fall apart under that weight. Instead, they use their empathy as a source of strength. This combination is really unusual and really attractive. People want to be around someone who can understand their feelings, but also help them move through those feelings productively. An INFJ friend won't just listen while you cry about your problems. They'll help you see a path forward. They have this natural ability to hold your pain with compassion while also challenging you to grow and do better. It's not harsh or dismissive. It's caring and real. This balance between empathy and strength makes INFJs naturally influential. People respect them because they're strong, but they also trust them because they're compassionate. It's a rare combination that people instinctively recognize as valuable. In a world where we sometimes see empathy as weakness or strength as coldness, INFJs show that you can be both at the same time. That's attractive. That's worth getting close to. That's the kind of energy people want to be around. 6. The mysterious ability to inspire without trying. Walk into a room with an INFJ, and you might notice something odd. They're not the loudest person. They're not commanding attention with big gestures or grand stories. Yet somehow, people seem inspired around them. INFJs have this quiet way of bringing out the best in people without consciously trying to do it. Part of this comes from their ability to genuinely believe in people's potential before those people believe in themselves. When an INFJ tells you that they think you're capable of something great, you tend to believe them. Not because they're manipulating you, but because they usually see things others don't see. They have this clear-eyed ability to recognize people's strengths and possibilities. And when you know someone who really believes in you, it changes how you see yourself. Suddenly you're thinking about what you could accomplish rather than what you can't. People are also inspired by INFJs simply because of who they are. Without preaching or forcing anything, INFJs inspire others to be more authentic, more thoughtful, more compassionate. They inspire people to care more deeply about things that matter. They inspire people to have meaningful conversations instead of wasting time on shallow gossip. This inspiration is genuine and organic. It comes from the example they set, not from anything they explicitly say. And that kind of influence, that makes people want to be around INFJs because being near them makes people want to be better versions of themselves. 7. The deep conversation they naturally create. Small talk feels painful for INFJs, and everyone can sense it. Instead of forcing surface-level conversation, they naturally steer toward real topics. They ask questions that matter. They want to know your story, your thoughts, your dreams, and your struggles. And because they ask genuine questions and actually listen to the answers, conversations with INFJs feel different. Most people are starving for real conversation. We're so used to superficial exchanges that when someone actually wants to talk about something real, it's refreshing. It's meaningful. People find themselves opening up to INFJs because the INFJ creates an environment where deep conversation is not just allowed, it's expected. They set the tone that it's safe to be real, to be honest, to talk about the things that actually matter. This quality of INFJs, their ability to create space for real conversation, is increasingly rare and increasingly valuable. In a world of quick texts and surface-level social media interactions, having someone who wants to actually talk and actually listen is incredibly attractive. People seek out INFJs not just for what they can do or provide, but for the quality of their presence and their conversation. This is why INFJs often end up being the person everyone wants to talk to at parties, even though INFJs might actually prefer to be anywhere else at that moment. 8. The quiet strength that protects others. INFJs might seem soft because they're empathetic and caring, but there's a fierce strength underneath. They're loyal to their core. They protect the people they care about. They stand up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. And people feel safe around that kind of quiet strength. You know that feeling when you're around someone and you just feel protected? Not because they're flexing or trying to prove anything, but because you sense that they're solid and you can trust them. That's what INFJs offer. Their strength isn't flashy or aggressive. It's steady and real. INFJs will show up for people. They'll defend them when needed. They'll tell them hard truths because they care about them, not because they want to be mean. This combination of gentleness and strength is incredibly attractive because people don't have to worry about INFJs being fake or unreliable. They know where they stand with an INFJ. This protective quality also extends to how INFJs handle other people's vulnerabilities. When someone shares something sensitive with an INFJ, they know it's safe. They know the INFJ won't use it against them or gossip about it. They know they'll be met with respect and understanding. This trustworthiness is foundational to why people are drawn to INFJs. In relationships, whether romantic or platonic, trust is everything. And INFJs naturally inspire trust because they live their values consistently. 9. The way they challenge you to be better without judgment. INFJs have this interesting way of seeing where you could grow, and instead of shaming you about it, they inspire you to pursue that growth. They're not the type to put you down or make you feel bad about your limitations. Instead, they help you see your potential and encourage you to move toward it. This happens because INFJs genuinely believe people are capable of change and growth. They don't see people as fixed. They see them as evolving beings with possibility. When they gently point out something you could work on, it doesn't feel like criticism. It feels like belief. It feels like they see your potential and want to help you access it. This approach is so different from the way most people operate. Either they judge silently and pull away, or they criticize harshly and make you feel worse. People are drawn to those who bring out their better selves, and that's exactly what INFJs do. They help people see possibilities they hadn't considered. They support growth without being pushy about it. They celebrate your victories genuinely and help you learn from your failures without making you feel ashamed. This creates a dynamic where people actually want to improve themselves not because they feel pressured, but because they want to live up to the potential the INFJ sees in them. That's a powerful form of influence, and it's naturally attractive to people who are genuinely seeking growth. 10. The intersection of wisdom and approachability. INFJs often seem wise beyond their years, even when they're young. There's something about the way they think, the perspective they bring, and the questions they ask that reveals depth. Yet despite this wisdom, they're not arrogant or condescending about it. They don't use their insight to make others feel small. They share it in ways that help people understand themselves and their situations better. This combination, being genuinely wise while also being approachable and humble, is magnetic. People want advice from someone they respect, but they also want to feel comfortable around that person. INFJs offer both. You can learn from them without feeling talked down to. You can hear their perspective without feeling judged. This makes them go to people for advice, guidance, and perspective. Friends confide in INFJs. Family members ask them for their take on situations. People value their input because they trust that it comes from a place of genuine care and real understanding, not from someone trying to prove how smart they are. 11. The subtle grace in how they move through the world. There's something graceful about how INFJs interact with the world. It's not like the grace of someone trying to be impressive. It's the grace of someone who's comfortable in their own skin and moving with intention. They don't rush through conversations. They take time to think before responding. They move through their relationships with care. And all of this creates an impression of someone who's different, someone who's aware, someone who matters. This grace attracts people because it suggests depth. When someone moves with intention rather than autopilot, when they choose their words carefully rather than just talking to fill silence, when they act from a place of values rather than impulse, that says something. It says there's someone worth knowing. It says there's something meaningful about them. People respond to this, even if they can't exactly articulate why. They're drawn to the feeling that being around this person means something, that it matters. 12. The paradox of being needed but not needy. INFJs often end up being the person others lean on. People feel comfortable bringing their problems to them, asking them for advice, and relying on their steadiness. Yet INFJs rarely ask for things from others. They seem self-sufficient, almost like they don't need anyone. This paradox is part of what makes them so attractive. There's something appealing about people who have it somewhat together, who aren't constantly seeking validation or support. It makes them feel safe to be around. People aren't worried they'll have to take care of them emotionally. Instead, they know this person can probably help them. At the same time, most INFJs do need things. They just don't usually ask for them. They carry a lot quietly. They manage their feelings privately. And while this is often a strength, it also adds to their mysterious appeal. There's always the sense that there's more going on beneath the surface, that this person has depths most people don't see. Conclusion: the collective magnetism of being real. So why is everyone drawn to INFJs? After exploring all these qualities, the answer becomes clear. It's not just one thing. It's the combination of being genuinely real in a world that often feels fake. It's the intersection of strength and empathy. It's the rare gift of making people feel seen and valued. It's the ability to inspire growth without judgment. It's the quiet grace and the deep wisdom. It's all of these things together. But here's what's important to understand. INFJs themselves usually don't know why people are drawn to them. They might feel like they're just being themselves, just listening, just trying to understand. They don't see it as special because to them, it's just how they naturally operate. They think everyone should listen that deeply, understand that thoroughly, care that genuinely. They don't realize how rare these qualities actually are. The truth is, in a world where people are constantly performing, where attention is fragmented, where genuine connection feels increasingly difficult to find, INFJs stand out. Not because they're trying to stand out, but because they're being authentically themselves. They're offering real presence, real understanding, real connection. And people respond to that because they're hungry for it. They're starving for it. They don't know any other way to describe it except to say, there's something special about this person, something that draws me in. So if you're an INFJ reading this, know that the magnetism people feel around you isn't accidental or shallow. It's not because you're perfect or have it all figured out. It's because you're offering something genuinely rare. You're offering your real self, and that matters more than you probably realize. People don't just like being around you. They feel better around you. They feel more themselves. They feel seen and valued. And in this world, that's profoundly rare and profoundly needed. And if you're someone who knows an INFJ or feels drawn to INFJs, understand that what you're responding to is real. That mysterious quality, that magnetic pull, it's not imaginary. It's the pull of authenticity, the attraction of genuine presence, the magnetism of someone who actually cares and actually listens. That's worth paying attention to, worth nurturing, and worth appreciating. Because in a world that often feels disconnected and superficial, INFJs remind us what it feels like to truly connect, to truly understand, and to truly matter.